What's the matter, kid? Don't you like clowns? What's going on, guys, and welcome to my review for Clown in a Cornfield. This is a new slasher film coming out of Shudder that is also an adaptation of the first book from a series of novels of the same name written by Adam Caesar. The basic premise here is you have a father and daughter who, in attempts to start a new life, move to this small, rural, midwestern town called Kettle Springs, and as they are there getting to know the town folks and learning of their tradition, Frendo, a clown and relic of the town's past, emerges and begins to hunt down and murder all of the teenagers within the community. This film got put on my radar back in March when a few reviewers I watch here on YouTube got the chance to check this movie out at its world premiere at South by Southwest, and they all said that they had a really good time with it. So combining that with me already being a self-proclaimed slasher slut, this was a movie that I was really excited to check out. My only real concern for this movie going in was a concern that I have for most slashers when I go to check them out, and that is, what is this movie going to do to stand out on its own or be unique, especially being that the killer in this movie is a clown. The clown is a template that has produced a ton of iconic characters in horror. I'm talking Pennywise from It, killer clowns from outer space, the clown doll from Poltergeist, Captain Spaulding, and most comparably to this film, we have had Art the Clown from the Terrifier franchise, who has without question become one of the most popular new age slashers of the last decade. But for every horror clown's success, there are a dozen other attempts that have come and gone, doomed to be forgotten. So the question was, where will Frendo land on the spectrum of possibilities? Because being that there are 3 novels written for this character, if this movie is a success, we could be witnessing the birth of a new slasher film franchise. But is that what we got? Well, before I get into all of my thoughts on this movie, I'd like to ask that while you're here, go ahead and consider giving the video a like and subscribe to the channel as well for more movie reviews. Make sure to get down in the comments below and tell me all of your thoughts on Clown in a Cornfield. Tell me what your favorite clown in horror is as well. I would love to read everything you guys have to say. Now let's get into the review. As always, starting with the positives, and I had a really fun time with this movie. You know, I said in my intro for my review of The Monkey earlier this year that it feels like 2025 is the year where horror comedies are reigning supreme, because with movies like The Monkey and Hard Eyes and Companion and Hell of a Summer all already being released, with more on the way such as Megan 2.0, it really does feel like a lot of the best horror we are getting this year are comedies, and Clown in a Cornfield is just another example of that. How funny this movie is really should be no surprise, given that it's being directed by Eli Craig, who is the same director that gave us Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which many consider to be a horror comedy classic. So he has shown before that he can deliver a very comedic horror experience with the best of them. Something that I think really helps drive the comedy home and make it so effective is the batch of characters that we get here. They are all pretty common caricature versions of characters we have seen in plenty of slashers before, like the meathead jock, the dumb bitchy blonde, and the prankster, stuff like that. But being that the humor in this movie is all centered around being at the expense of these Gen Z characters, they fit the movie really well. And a lot of the situational humor that comes from these exaggerated versions is what evoked a lot of the biggest laughs from me and the people that I was in the theater with.
Call 911!
Where's the button, Jen? What is this? What is
What
this?
kind of phone is this?
So even though they're not the deepest or most layered bunch, they work really well and are very entertaining because of the type of movie they are in. And for that, I had a lot of fun with them. Talking about our killer now, Frendo the Clown, I really like the look of Frendo. One of the benefits of having a clown killer is that there's a lot of room to have fun with the look, and they do some extra stuff to add to it as well, like his shoes squeaking when he walks. I wouldn't put him on the level of a Pennywise or anything like that, but he is really solid, and there are a lot of elements of the character that I did enjoy. As we all know, for any slasher to be worth their salt, they gotta supply the carnage candy, and I would say that Clown in a Cornfield definitely does deliver on that. There is quite a bit of blood and gore in this movie, and it's all done practically, which is something I will always appreciate and praise. A lot of the kills in this movie are rather quick and nothing special, but they do take their time to get creative with a few of them in here. My favorite kill was one involving a bench press. I think they did a really good job with that. So though nothing in this movie is on a Terrifier level or anything like that, it does do enough with the kills to satisfy me, which, like I said, I feel is a necessity for a slasher movie to succeed. So for Carnage Candy, Frendo gets a honk on the nose from me. Moving on to the mix now and sticking with Frendo, because even though I did say I enjoyed the look of the character and did find him to be entertaining, there are a few things involving the character that I do feel hold him back from standing with the giants of horror clown history. There's no signature kill or weapon or standout performance from an actor that really helps push Frendo over the top, but what I really think holds his character back is how the movie subverts your expectations as it pertains to what Frendo is. I don't want to get too specific here, but in my opinion, what they do here really dashed any potential this character had at being that next iconic slasher villain, which I think a lot of people think they're getting with this movie because a lot of the early reviews and reactions were setting that expectation. I'm putting this all in the mixed category because on a story level, I actually really liked this subversion, and my enjoyment of this movie actually didn't end up relying on the killer as much as I thought it would be going in. But if you're going in think you're getting the next Art the Clown or something near that level, I think you'll end up being pretty disappointed. So when you do go check this movie out, I would try to manage my expectations a little bit. Getting to the negatives now, and really all of my issues with this movie either take place in the beginning or the ending of the film. The first 20 to 25 minutes or so, the movie spends all that time really just going through the motions of a typical slasher, and it's during this period where I feel things like dialogue, acting performances, and comedy are all at their weakest, and being that there's no killing going on during this section of the film, that's all you're really getting, and it started to have me nervous for the movie because all the characters had done up to this point was annoy me, and I was actually starting to get flashbacks to Eli Roth's Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, where those characters start off annoying and then they just remain insufferable for the entirety of the film. Luckily, however, once the ball gets rolling on this movie, everything does dramatically improve. It just would have been nice if the movie could have gotten off to a better start. I also don't think that this movie sticks the landing as much as it possibly could have. And you'll have to stick with me a little bit here because since I can't give too many details as to what I'm talking about, I may sound like I'm contradicting myself a little bit here. But as I mentioned before, they do some things to subvert your expectations as to what Frendo is. And I thought it was a cool idea what they did. I did enjoy it. However, once this subversion happens and you combine that with the overall themes of the movie, it immediately gives away, or at least makes it very easy to guess what is going on here. And so once it comes time for the mask to be removed and the identity to be revealed, you have probably already predicted everything that is being revealed to you. Predictability has always been something that slashers have struggled with in the past, and some examples are easier to forgive or look past than others. And fortunately, I don't think it ruins the movie here or anything like that, but it still always is a bummer when you have solved the mystery way before you were necessarily supposed to. It really just takes all the weight out of the final reveal. Well, there you guys have it. Those are all of my thoughts on Clown in a Cornfield. I thought this was a really fun and comedic slasher experience, and though I don't think Frendo individually reaches the necessary heights to be regarded as the next iconic slasher, I do think the movie as a whole was really solid and is definitely deserving of getting a sequel and adapting the remaining novels because I would love to see how the rest of this story plays out. If you're a slasher super fan, then I definitely recommend you check this movie out. You may deem it worthy to go see in theaters, but for general audiences, I will recommend just wait for it to be on a streaming service. It should be on Shudder relatively soon. Just make sure when you do check it out to not give up on it as it slugs through the first 20 or so minutes, because I promise you it does get better. But let me know what you guys think about Clown in a Cornfield down in the comments below. Make sure before you click off to consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel as well for more movie reviews. I would greatly appreciate all of your guys' support, and I will see you all in my next review. Peace.